Hello, I'm Jane Dutton with a wrap of a year of breaking records and many firsts. 2024 is now the hottest year in history. We've experienced extreme weather conditions in South Africa, from floods to mind-boggling heat. At least 64 countries held elections this year, with more people voting than any other time in history. South Africa's May vote saw the ANC lose its outright majority. In its place, a government of national unity made up of 10 parties. The newly formed Umkhonto we Sizwe party wasn't one of them. In just 1 year, Jacob Zuma's party grew bigger than the Economic Freedom Fighters and became the official opposition in parliament. The EFF suffered many high-level defections, mainly to the MK party.
I stand before you to accept the decision of the Deputy President of the EFF, who has voluntarily resigned his positions and did not renew his membership.
In the US, former President Donald Trump reclaimed the top job in a smashing victory over Democrat Kamala Harris. Harris took over from an ailing President Joe Biden. Trump has stocked his cabinet with billionaires, including Elon Musk. Namibia voted in its first woman president as Vice President Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah steps into that role. In Botswana, the long-ruling BDP party was voted out after 58 years in power. And disputed elections in Mozambique led to countrywide unrest. Concerns over voter fraud led to protests against the ruling Frelimo party. The violence also resulted in major disruptions on the key corridor between South Africa and the Maputo port.
The impact has been negative. By now, we can think about $54 million of losses. Of course, it does include also the freight forwarder, the ports, and the other players in the supply chain. But that is not a good news.
The Mozambican Constitutional Council will on Monday announce the election recount. We celebrated the first ever Deaf Miss South Africa. Mia LaRue made history when she was crowned in a controversial pageant. Controversial because of a fallout over Chidima Adesina. The 23-year-old withdrew from the Miss South Africa competition due to anger over her citizenship status. It was discovered that fraud may have been committed by Adesina's mother when she came to South Africa. Adesina then went on to win Miss Nigeria. South Africans also said goodbye to too many politicians and celebrities who made a positive impact on the country. The president pulled off a laughable mini-cabinet reshuffle. Cyril moved the corrupt-accused Thembi Simelane from the Justice Ministry to the Human Settlements one. Minister Mameloko Kubayi, who has no legal experience at all, takes up that important role.
At a time when the justice system is under serious pressure and our institutions are struggling to repurpose themselves after a decade of state capture, the new minister will need to do much to prove that she's up to the task.
We learnt about the illegal underground world of Zama-Zamas. Police deliberated over feeding the illegal miners or flushing them out by refusing to send down food and water. The High Court ruled that humanitarian aid should be allowed to the miners refusing to budge in the Stilfontein mine shaft in the northwest. More than 6 bodies were retrieved from the mine and more than 1,400 miners resurfaced. Hundreds of illegal miners, including teenagers, remain underground. More than 20 children lost their lives after eating poisoned food. It's believed they bought their snacks from Spaza shops. This led to the government to demand owners register their shops and promised better oversight.
I couldn't imagine my child will be one of those, but it happened because even on the very first children. We were so hurt about what happened to them. You know, the whole community was all up in arms in full support of the other previous communities, the people there. And now, I don't know. You know, my question is now, whose child is going to follow from here?
They have until the 28th of February to register. Cooperative Governance Minister Nkosini Hlabisa said there are no indications at this stage that government would impose a limit on the number of foreign nationals allowed to operate Spaza shops.
Definitely there will be no need of putting a quota because there will be no foreign national that is meeting the requirements to run a Spaza shop or a food handling outlet.
In the Middle East, Israel has killed more than 46,000 people in Gaza and the West Bank. That's after Hamas led an attack on Israeli soil in October last year. 1,706 Israelis were killed. South Africa took the country to the International Court of Justice. South Africa alleged that Israel was committing genocide against Palestinians. A UN special committee also finds Israel's warfare methods in Gaza consistent with genocide, including use of starvation as a weapon of war. Israel detonated pages in Lebanon, killing Hezbollah members and many innocent people. In surprise attacks, Syrian rebel forces forced longtime leader Bashar al-Assad out of power. He fled to Moscow with his family. Tens of thousands of people were killed during his regime, and thousands were released from Assad's slaughterhouses where people were tortured and killed. South African pop star Tyler's star kept on rising. She received 2 honours at the 2024 Billboard Music Awards in Los Angeles and also won her first ever Grammy Award for Best African Music Performance. In sport, Bafana Bafana won the bronze medal at the Africa Cup of Nations in February. Their third-place finish at the tournament in the Ivory Coast was their best performance at the event in 24 years. Tatjana Smith won a gold and a silver medal at the Paris Olympics in July. She became South Africa's most decorated Olympian in history with a total of 4 medals. The Springboks dominated international rugby once again. They ended the year as the #1 ranked team in the world after winning the Rugby Championship in September after beating arch-rivals New Zealand twice. Flank Peter Steph du Toit capped the year by being named the World Rugby Player of the Year. Staying with rugby greats, South Africans asked the president to intervene in the Kolisi's relationship. That's after Springbok captain Siya Kolisi and his wife Rachel shocked the nation when they announced they were getting divorced.
Kuba?
Alright, there it is. Take it down.
We've been engaged.
We need you here. Kusi, wait for me, please. Wait for me.
And this South African film in the isiXhosa vernacular has been shortlisted for the Oscars, The Last Ranger.
The film is about rhino poaching. It's about coming of age of a little girl. It's about the socio-economic issues that face our country. It's about how hard it was to make a living during COVID. And we're very excited. We heard yesterday night, our time, that we've been shortlisted. There were originally 180 films. We are now one of 15 films, and we will hear on the 16th of January if we make the nominated list, which is the top 5, and we then become an Oscar-nominated film, not just an Oscar-shortlisted film.
And all of us at EWN wish you a happy festive season. We'll see you for more again next year.
Eyewitness News, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, log on to ewn.co.za or ewn.mobi.